a story about patience, faith, and finding peace in your own time. High in the heart of the northern lands, where the sky touched the snow and the air smelled of pine, there stood a silent mountain called Aruna. People said Aruna had been waiting for something for centuries, but no one knew what it waited for. At the base of this mountain lived a boy named Kai, barely 20 years old. He was kind, full of dreams, but also restless. Kai wanted to climb Aruna and reach its peak, to find something extraordinary, something that would change his life. But every time he tried, storms rose, paths vanished, and he was forced to return home. Still, his heart whispered, "One day, I'll make it." Years passed. The mountain remained silent. Kai grew older, stronger, but his impatience also grew. He would stand at the edge of the forest shouting, "Why won't you let me reach the top? What are you hiding up there?" But the mountain never answered. Only the wind replied, carrying the faint sound of snow falling somewhere far above. One morning, after yet another failed attempt, Kai met an old monk resting near the river. The monk smiled gently and said, "You seem angry, young one. What troubles your heart?" Kai sighed, "That mountain. It won't let me reach its top. Every time I climb, it pushes me back." The monk closed his eyes for a moment and said, "Maybe the mountain isn't ready yet." Kai frowned. "The mountain or me?" The monk opened his eyes and smiled. "Sometimes they are the same." That night, those words echoed in Kai's mind. Maybe the mountain isn't ready yet, or maybe I'm not. He decided he would no longer climb with anger, but with understanding. So, instead of rushing to the peak, Kai began visiting Aruna every day. He sat quietly at its base, listening to the wind, feeling the sun's warmth, watching the snow melt and flow into rivers. Days became months. The mountain didn't speak, but it taught him through silence. In winter, Kai watched the trees bend under heavy snow without breaking. In spring, he saw how flowers bloomed not by force, but by time. He began to see patience in every part of nature, in rivers carving stone, in stars rising only when night allowed. He understood what the monk meant. The mountain isn't an obstacle. It's a mirror. One morning, after many seasons, Kai woke before dawn. The air was calm, the mountain glowing softly under the first light. Without thinking, he began to climb again. Not out of desire, but from peace. He didn't rush. He didn't fight. He simply followed the rhythm of his breath and the whisper of the wind. And for the first time, the mountain stayed still. No storms, no fog, only quiet acceptance. By sunset, Kai reached the peak. The sky stretched endlessly, painted in gold and violet. He stood there, heart full, eyes wide. But there was no treasure, no temple, no secret scroll. Only silence, and the world below. He smiled. "So this was what you were hiding. Peace, not beyond the clouds, but inside himself." As he sat there, the wind moved gently around him, almost like a whisper. "You were never waiting for me, Kai. I was waiting for you to stop running." Tears filled his eyes. For the first time, he wasn't chasing answers. He was simply being. He spent the night on the peak, watching stars drift across the heavens. He realized that life was like this climb. You can't force the path, can't rush the weather, but if you move with patience, everything reveals itself in time. When morning came, Kai descended quietly. People in the village noticed the change in him. His steps were slower, his eyes softer. He no longer spoke of reaching the top, he spoke of walking well. And every time someone asked, "What did you find on the mountain?" he smiled and said, "Nothing." And in that nothing, I found everything. From that day, Kai became known as the listener. He helped others find calm, teaching them that peace doesn't come when we conquer the mountain. It comes when we learn to wait with it. The mountain still stood tall, quiet, patient. But now it wasn't waiting alone. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who's in a hurry to find peace. Sometimes, slowing down is how we finally arrive. Subscribe to Stories That Live, where every story reminds you, life blooms best in its own time.